You're listening to Spreaker Web Radio.
Hail and kill, caller. You're on the air.
Hello, this is Ron Keel calling the Classic Metal Show.
Hey, look, it's Ron Keel.
Hey, guys, sorry I'm late, man. I missed your call. I was in the studio cranking up some loud rock and roll, much like you guys are doing tonight.
Absolutely.
Wait a minute, Ron. You told me you were going to be out shooting shit in the mountains.
Man, I was trying to do that, but I'm leaving town. I'm going on the road for a few weeks, and there's so many deadlines to meet before I hit the road that I had to stay home and take care of business. So, and I wouldn't miss this for the world. It's been great to talk to you again. I want to thank Chris for getting back together with you on the show, and just want to say hi to you guys and congratulations and all the good stuff.
Hey, Ron, I know you've been at this for 35 years, but I got to teach you how to be a rock star for a minute, okay? You never turn down a story that you're out shooting shit to say that you're doing business. That's not what rock stars do.
No, I fully intended to spend the weekend in the mountains with guns and guitars, but it ends up that I'm at home with just the guitars. But the guns are sitting here loaded and ready for action any time, man. But like I said, I got to take care of some music and get these demos done before I hit the road. So I was cranking up some the final mix of a new Ron Keel song, and missed your call because the speakers were up to 211.
Hey,
Nice.
Chris, when we get off the air, I think you need to give Ron Zach Wilde's phone number. Ron, it's good to speak to you. Glad to have you here on the Classic Metal Show. How the hell have you been, my good friend?
Better than I deserve. You know, I'm living the dream. I've been able to succeed here in Las Vegas in a very difficult economy, and created and produced a show that's still running now after 5 years. Like I said, we're moving the show to Atlantic City for 2 weeks. For the last 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years, I've been totally immersed in the Keel reunion, doing some great shows with the guys in Keel all over the world, a couple of tours of Europe and the Monsters of Rock cruise and some big festival events, and just a new album called Streets of Rock and Roll. Hope you've heard it. Hope you're playing it. And if you're not, I'll send you one.
Well, Ron, we had you here on the show for the release of Streets of Rock and Roll, and we were looking forward to big things for Keel here because I know you were really excited for the release of this, and you guys were doing a big kind of a release party in Hollywood, you know, for the release of this thing. And, you know, obviously you've been working this for the last couple of years. How has the reception been?
The reception from the fans and the media has been incredible. The reviews were great on the new record, and the band is very well received. You know, one testament to the response is our placement on the Monsters of Rock cruise a few months back. That was determined by fan voting, by the fans that signed up for the cruise using your code, determined your time slot, and we ended up closing the show on the deck the last night of the cruise, out on the big deck on the ship. And so that was that's all because the fans spoke up and demanded that we come back again next year in 2013. So I couldn't be more pleased with the response and the opportunities that we've had. It's a dream come true, and it's certainly something I never thought would happen, but I'm glad it's happened, and I'm glad we're doing it right, and we're enjoying it, man, taking it one song at a time, one show at a time. You never know what tomorrow will bring, but the rock and roll will keep you young, and we're glad to be out there still doing a good job. I think we're doing good shows. I think one thing that the fans have continued to communicate to me is how much they can tell that we're enjoying what we do. We're not going through the motions. We're not here for the money. We're certainly here to celebrate the good times, the good music, the friendships, the relationship we have with those rock and roll fans that have kept this kind of music alive for 30 years.
Sure. Well, Ron, you know, one of the things that I've heard you say several times on your radio show, The Streets of Rock and Roll, is how much you really love the actual album Streets of Rock and Roll. And I mean, even now, you know, I mean, as recently as I think last week, when on your show last week, you were saying that you feel like this record truly is the best record of your career. You know, I mean, let's be honest, man. I mean, the early records when you had hundreds of thousands of dollars of budget and whatnot, I mean, they're obviously great records. You know, what is it about this record that to you feels like it's so much better than, you know, the quote unquote classic stuff that brought so many people to Keel in the first place?
The basics. I think the songs are better. I think my voice is better. I totally believe that the two guitarists, Mark Ferrari and Brian Jay, are playing better than they ever played. The musicianship, you know, there's a certain something that has to be said for maturity and experience. And hopefully the more you do something, if you keep doing it, you'll just keep getting better at it. So it's a combination of all the lessons we've learned. And I think the songwriting especially speaks to that. The fact that we hadn't done a record in so long, it was a really exciting creative process to come up with songs that, and we did not reunite to make a new record. It was the last thing on our minds, and we had no intention of creating new music. It happened naturally, and I think that's the key. It wasn't that we had to create a piece of merchandise to sell at the shows. We had to create music that we were proud of, that we felt good about, and hopefully the fans would pick up on that.
Sure. Now, Ron, let's talk about the radio show for a minute, because that is probably the main reason I wanted to have you on, was because, as you know, I'm definitely a fan of what you're doing, and you and I have talked about, maybe doing some stuff with it, down the road. But the thing that I personally am liking about the new radio show that you're doing is it's not there's so many rock guys, rock stars that have tried to do it, but they lose touch with what it is that they do. They don't remember that, people want to hear the stories about being on the road, and they want to hear, when they want to hear an interview from a rock guy talking to another rock guy, they don't want to hear the same old bullshit about, hey, where'd you record this? That was great. They want to actually have kind of almost like it's a backstage pass to two rock stars hanging out in the back, before a show, just shooting the shit about their last tour or whatnot. And that's what I personally love about what you're doing. Is that kind of what you purposely were bringing to the scene that wasn't there, or were you just rolling the dice and seeing how it developed, or what was your thought when you were putting it together?
It's kind of like when you put a band together, or when you make an album, you want to create something that you would enjoy listening to. And this is the kind of show, my radio show, Streets of Rock and Roll, is the kind of show that I would tune into and enjoy. Hopefully, I appreciate the response. I appreciate your comments and compliments, and the fact that the fans are enjoying that sneak peek behind the curtain, so to speak, giving them something they can't get anywhere else. And I'm a big fan of news radio, talk radio, because I'm a musician. I listen to music 24/7. I'm always creating music, writing music, performing music. So, therefore, I've just become, over the last couple of decades, a real fan of sports radio. ESPN and the Jim Rome show, these sports talk radio shows where they give you commentary, insight, and during the interviews they ask more questions than just the standard run-of-the-mill media stuff. And I found that some of these guys will open up to me just naturally. They want to talk to me. They want to come on the show. They'll open up to me kind of like we're having a beer. And they will talk about, Brent Muscat talked about his bout with cancer and his breakup with Tammy Down and the Pastor Pussycat thing. He went really in depth, more than I would have thought that he would have said. Guys will talk about how much they're getting paid for gigs, or they'll tell me the truth. And it's not that I'm trying to pry the dirt out of them. It's that they feel comfortable with me and they're having a natural conversation that conveys to the broadcast, and we try and bring that to the fans. And I let them know that if there's something they don't want heard or said on the radio, then I'll cut it out. We'll chop it up and edit it if they want. But never once has anyone asked me to, hey, no, don't air that, or don't, cut that out, please. They've been very forthcoming and very natural in the interview segments, and I really enjoy that. The ability to take the fans backstage, and I'll take the recorder backstage wherever I go. We're doing a show with Stephen Piercy and the guys in Warrant and the guys in Slaughter. We're backstage, the microphone's rolling, and the fans get to experience what it's really like back there with us. One of my favorite segments was the Keel on the Road piece, where I actually recorded the 5-minute ritual that we go through 5 minutes before a show, where we're warming up our voices. I'm giving my pep talk to the guys in the band. The roadies are coming in and saying, okay, it's time. And just that feeling that nobody's ever been there. I mean, there's 5 guys in the band and the crew guys, and that nobody gets to experience that. And I thought, man, maybe the fans would enjoy it, and so far they have.
Well, Ron, one of our listeners in the chat room has dubbed you the Don King of classic metal, the way that you've been promoting the show, which, that was just sort of funny, I thought. But anyway, to the serious question.
I appreciate that. That's what it's all about these days. I mean, it's just part of our job is to promote our products, our activities. I'm not a big Facebook guy. I mean, I use it to promote my stuff, but I don't get on there. You don't need to know what I had for breakfast. Who gives a shit?
Right.
I'm talking about the gigs. I'm talking about the shows, the tours, the music. and every once in a while I'll give you a little political insight. You know, I'm enjoying the forum to be able to talk about my views and share some of my beliefs about life or politics and the state of our country, the state of the planet, and be able to do that outside of a musical context. Normally I would just sit down and write a song about it. Now I have a radio show where I can talk about it. It doesn't even have to rhyme.
Right, absolutely. Well, Ron, Chris Wicks had gotten a hold of me a couple of months ago, a few months ago, to turn me on to your show, and I've been listening to it ever since. And obviously one of the advantages you have when doing what you do with the radio show, which you basically ran down a lot of the basics, is that your contemporary musicians, they feel comfortable with you to vocalize things that they may not normally say in a regular interview with basically unknowns. But since you've got a name out there, you've got that advantage. And one of the things that I like about your show, as opposed to other musicians, such as a legendary musician like Alice Cooper, he's got his own show, Nights with Alice Cooper. These guys don't stretch out at all. They don't reveal anything. They don't divulge anything from their career or from their past. And then the music that they play, because it's geared toward commercial radio, they never will play anything that's a deep cut or kind of an odd track or a rarity or anything. And that's what I like about your show, is that you don't stick with just the hits. You will stretch out, and you will play something odd, and you will play a deep track, and you will talk about things or have guests that will reveal things that in normal interviews with just a writer they would never mention. And that's what one of the unique things about the Streets of Rock and Roll, and I commend you for your show.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I would love to speak to you about airing it on your network. You would be, you got me into this thing a long time ago with the internet radio, and one of my first interviews when I was in Iron Horse. You were certainly an inspiration when I decided that I was going to pull the trigger and do this. So I really appreciate the compliments, the fact that you've been listening and enjoying the show. I try and mix it up, and we have a different theme. A lot of times, it's not just talk and rock. For instance, a couple of weeks ago, I had an episode I'm very proud of where we did no interviews, but I played new music, new classic rock from the bands that influenced me: Judas Priest, Scorpions, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, because these guys are still putting out great music over the last 3 or 4 years, and so I compiled an episode with new music from all of my favorite bands. So it's not classic rock. You can hear that stuff anywhere. I'm not afraid to, after a Keel show, after the Monsters of Rock cruise, I aired a live cut from the cruise, just recorded on a little digital microphone just to share it with the fans, because that's something they're not going to get anywhere else, whether it's an unplugged segment, an interview, or some rare music. I like to feature some new bands, too, because they're the ones that are going to really keep this genre alive. As guys like myself keep getting older. Bands like Roadway from Scotland, which is a great new young band from Scotland that I think you're going to hear a lot from those guys in years to come. Band from Columbus, Ohio called Full Tilt, which is absolutely incredible. So I really enjoy showcasing some of those new bands. When I'm on the road and we've got an opening act that impresses me, man, I'll take their CD and I'll put it on the show. And get out their website, try and promote some of the new talent that's going to keep this music alive for years to come.
Well, Ron, this is a subject that Chris and I have talked about over the years, and we just believe, not that we want to see it go away, but we just know what the reality is, that when some of these hard rock metal veterans, such as Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Judas Priest, when they call it a day, the era of arena rock is over. Do you believe that, or do you know of something or foresee something in the future that could possibly take the place? God bless them. These bands have been out there for 40 years, and they're still selling out, 15, 20,000 seat arenas. But once they call it a day, who do we got to look forward to do an arena size act?
That's a good question, and I don't know, and I love that term, arena rock, because there's so many different titles or references for our genre, where you call it glam metal or hair metal or, you know, heavy metal, hard rock, commercial hard rock, whatever. But really, for me, it goes back to that, what you said, arena rock. And back when I was growing up, it was all about what worked in a 20,000-seat arena. When you can hit a big pause and the chord stops and you hear it bounce off the back wall and smack you in the back of the head. You know, those bands that could make you feel like even if you were in the back row that you were a part of the show. I don't see anybody doing that. You know, I see some bands keeping the music alive in terms of a concert production performance that I would enjoy seeing in a major arena. Yeah, it's a little scary, man. You know, I hope that some bands will step up and keep that tradition alive. But to tell you the truth, I can't name one.
Right. Well, Ron, with everything that you're doing now, what do you? Where's the biggest rush now? I mean, I know once you start doing radio, you get that bug, you know, and obviously music, you know, anytime you get up in front of whether it's 50 people or 50,000 people, there's always that buzz when you get up in front of the people. So where is the buzz at for you now? I mean, do you still get the same charge out of playing live, or are you more satisfied now pulling out the recorder and really just, you know, digging into places that most people have not gotten before?
You know, I enjoy it all, and that's one thing about my career that has been so rewarding is the diversity, the ability to do so many different things. And there have been times when I've done, in one day, I've done a metal gig and a country gig. And then I'm doing my radio show in between. I'm writing my book, which I'm really enjoying. I want to get that out. I know it's been a long time coming, but literally in order to achieve any one of these things, as you know, producing a radio show, you got to turn everything else off. You know, and the radio show takes me about a day. You know, I usually spend all day Wednesday producing the show, and a lot of time during the week thinking about it. You know, kind of coming up with little bullet points, what I'm going to say, putting together a playlist of songs to fit in with the theme or songs that I haven't played yet that I'd like to get to. And so the radio show, as you guys well know, takes a lot of time and thought and effort and energy to produce it, to get the transitions and the playlist, and then to get it uploaded. We've got 19 affiliate stations now, and I've got to do different formats for the FM stations and the AM stations, the stations that air commercials, the stations that don't air commercials. But, you know, it still comes down to the music for me. And my burning passion right now, and the thing that I'm most excited about, is a new solo album that I'm creating that we're going to hopefully release early in 2013 in time for the Monsters of Rock cruise. It's going to combine, you know, even more than Iron Horse did, because Iron Horse was a southern rock, country metal kind of project, and I still want to retain those elements, but my new solo album is going to be, it's like Iron Horse pissed off. Basically, you know, more aggressive, heavier, but still it's going to have some of those southern rock type of elements. It's called Metal Cowboy, Sex, Guns, and Rock and Roll. And I'm totally immersed in writing that now. I've got some great musicians that are going to participate with me on the new album. Mike Vanderhule from Y&T is going to be doing the drums. Gino Arce from Keel and Iron Horse will be doing the bass. I've got a couple of great guitar players lined up. Brent Muscat from Pastor Pussycat and Sin City Sinners is going to do some guitar stuff with us. And you know, I'm really, that's what I was working on when I missed your call tonight for the interview. I was trying to finish up some mixes so that I could take the stuff on the road with me, listen to it, kind of tweak it on the way, and get the demos ready so the guys can get in the studio and get this thing tracked. So really excited about my new solo album and getting that done next year. We decided that we're going to hold off till 2014 for a new Keel album because that's going to be our 30th anniversary. That's 30 years of Keel, and so we've got to do something special for that. We're going to put all our efforts next year into writing, creating, recording a new 30th anniversary Keel album that will be released in 2014. So that gives me a year to kind of do my own thing.
Well, Ron, you obviously got a full plate there, and you got it all planned out. And, you know, congratulations on the radio show and the success of the Keel reunion. And, you know, you're a hardworking guy, man. I'm always amazed at, you know, the projects that you always got your hands into. And, you know, you're always off and doing something new. And
I am. You know, I appreciate that. I really respect that and appreciate the fact that you've noticed and that you compliment me on that. I do feel the clock is ticking, so there's a sense of urgency at this point in my life. When you're 24 years old, you think you got forever, And, I'm 51 now, and I know that I can't do this forever. I know that I'm not going to be able to deliver the kind of performance vocally and physically forever that I want to deliver. So, yeah, the clock's ticking. I got a lot of stuff on my to-do list that I need to get done before I'm too old to do it right. So basically, I've shifted into high gear, and I'm trying to entertain as many people and have as much fun as I possibly can.
Well, it must be an epiphany because we had Dave Henserling on the show here earlier, and he almost made the exact same statement. So he's 50 years old, and he's saying, I can't do this forever, so I'm getting out of it that I can, while I can do it, So
good for him, man. I love that guy. He was on my radio show this week. He's on the current version of Streets of Rock and Roll. We did a show together, and he's the original guitar player in Keel. We go back a long ways, and I have nothing but love for that guy. But he's a smart cat, man. He went to school, he learned a trade. He's got plenty to fall back on. I got nothing to fall back on but my ass.
Well, see what happens, Ron? Now the classic metal show is sucking hind tit compared to your show now.
No way, man. You set the bar, dude. We're all just trying to reach up to it.
Very nice, Ron. Well, let everybody know where they can find you in the show and your releases and all that good stuff. So go to it, Don
My
King.
hub online, thank you. My hub online is ronkeel.com, and we're going to be adding stuff all the time to the new site. You can listen to the radio show on demand at pitriffs.com, ronkeel.com/radio show, streetsofrockandroll.com. But everything's right there at ronkeel.com. MySpace comes and goes. Facebook may come and go, but the traditional kick-ass classic website has got to be your hub these days for your business, and that's for the fans. If they want to get on Facebook, go to ronkeel.com, click on the link. If they want to listen to the radio show, go to ronkeel.com, click on the links. It's all there, and I really appreciate the interaction with the fans in our forum. We've got several forums on there, like the old-fashioned message boards, where we used to be able to talk to each other one-on-one. We've got one called Let Freedom Rock, where we can talk about our political views and how fucked up the world and their government is at this time. We've got one for recipes. We got one for sports. I mean, you get on the site, and we can all hang together and talk about what we want to talk about. So I appreciate you plugging that. That's ronkeel.com, and listen to the radio show, Streets of Rock and Roll, and keep listening to the classic metal show as long as you possibly can.
All right. Well, we're 16 years and running, Ron. So you got a little catching up to do.
I know that. No, I'll never catch up, man. I'm just trying to keep up.
All right, Ron. Well, we appreciate you taking the time, and you're always welcome back on the show anytime. And we might as well play something from the Streets of Rock and Roll. We played the title track here earlier. So what do you think we ought to play, and tell us a quick story about it?
I often get asked that question in an interview, and there's obvious choices, but one thing I like to bring home and play at opportunities like this is the last track on the record, Brothers in Blood, which is dedicated to the guys in my band, Mark Ferrari, Brian J., Dwayne Miller, and Gino Arce, the guys that have been with me for so long that are still like brothers, like family to me. And we also dedicate this one to the guys, not only the guys that are out there still slugging it away on tour, the bands that are out there keeping this music alive, whether it's Rat or and the guys that we lost, like Robin Crosby, Phil Kennemore, Ronnie James Dio, Kevin Dubrow. The list goes on, man. We've lost a lot of good men the last few years, and this song is hopefully a dedication to all of those that are still out there kicking ass, and all of those that have kicked ass in the past. It's called Brothers in Blood.
All right, well, here it is. This is the latest from Keel, Streets of Rock and Roll. It's Brothers in Blood right here on your Classic Metal Show.